Enshrouded is one of the best survival RPGs of the year, and it's still in early access. There's so much to explore, combat feels rewarding, and there's a flexible building system in a world that's voxel-based. With so much to do, here's everything you need to know about Enshrouded. Welcome to Embervale, a world that's been broken and shattered thanks to the work of a generation of people who were fixated on creating and consuming elixirs. Because of this guy. Thanks, random wanderer, you led the world to ruin. You play as a Flameborn, someone who has been blessed to withstand the Shroud, which is a poisonous fog that covers much of Embervale, but only for a little while. Alongside other various specialists and villagers, you were willingly put into a magical sleep with the plan that once you awoke, you'd reclaim the world from the Shroud. That's enough backstory, let's get to the fun stuff. Enshrouded is a voxel-based survival RPG where your goal is to survive and explore a dangerous, shroud-filled world by gathering resources, establishing a base, crafting items, and fighting through whatever gets in your way. You'll be able to freely explore the world, but there is a storyline and plenty of quests that can help guide you on your travels. You can find these quests out in the world by reading documents and finding clues. Apart from that, NPCs are your primary source of quests. 4 quests from him? Sheesh. So as you find new resources in the world and continue the story, they'll often give you clues for where to go next. After all, knowing where to go or what to watch next is great, so remember to like and subscribe to see when my videos go live. Being voxel-based means, in the simplest terms, you can heavily interact with and modify the world around you. Carve a hole through that mountain, modify most existing structures or dismantle them, or build something new from scratch using tiny cubes, or just use explosives. Exploration really is the biggest part of this game. You've got huge elevation changes, hostile creatures, this lava-like stuff, and of course the Shroud itself to deal with. You've got your grappling hook and wingsuit as your main exploration tools. Enemies are plentiful and more dangerous the further you explore, making it imperative that you keep upgrading your gear and, just as importantly, collecting skill points. More on that later. So how do you upgrade your gear? Well, as you explore, you'll start finding all sorts of people to join you. They are the ones who will give you access to better gear, weapon enhancement, farming, magic, and of course, as previously mentioned, quests. Apart from farming skill points, they're your biggest source of progression. While we're at it, let's talk about what combat looks like. You've really got 3 main styles of combat, no surprises here: melee, ranged, and magic. There's one-handed and two-handed melee weapons with dual daggers for up close. Then you've got bows, which are brought to life with a massive arsenal of arrow types, but we both know explosive arrows are all you need. Then there's magic, which is loosely divided between damage and healing. Just be aware that casting magic requires 3 things: a staff, mana, and spell charges. Unless you've found an eternal spell, which is a spell that lasts forever, you have a limited number of casts. Lastly, we've got the wand, which functions as a short to mid-range option that sort of auto-targets enemies, usually the ones I'm not even aiming for. Now remember what I mentioned collecting skill points? As you level up to 25, which is the max level, each level will give you skill points, but you'll quickly realize that you're constantly short of what you need. This is where Shroud roots come into play. You want to cut down as many of these Shroud roots as possible. They'll give you more skill points. You can find these roots scattered throughout the world, but these can be some of the most dangerous areas in the game and often contain bosses. So make sure to... So here's a funny tip. If you don't want to go into a Shroud area or an elixir well, but you have a line of sight on Shroud roots and you have explosive arrows, 1, 2, 3. And we're done. And that's one of the dungeons of the game. Time to leave. Okay, so you can cheese some of them, but they aren't all like that, probably. Even with every route in the game cut down, at the moment you cannot get everything in the skill tree, not even close. So planning your build becomes necessary as you go to more difficult areas. A couple of more things to know. The game supports up to 16-player co-op, but be aware that the world scales enemy health and numbers based off the number of players. Also, the game is currently in early access, which does does mean don't be surprised to find some bugs. But there's also new content being added, including new mechanics, features, and areas to explore. The biggest new mechanic arguably being animal husbandry. With all of that said, there's so much more to learn and do in Enshrouded. I haven't even mentioned the food system yet. If you want to hear a little bit about that, check out the video on the left. If you have any thoughts or questions about Enshrouded, let me know in the comments below. I'm your Benefactor, and I pray you have a wonderful day.